Hello, my cookies, and welcome. Welcome to Russell Cooks. Thanks so much for tuning in. Today, I have Swedish meatballs. Now, this is a wintertime comfort food favorite of mine and my family. I'm also going to be making some quick pickles to go along with it. They go amazing together. Also, I'm going to be serving with some lingonberry jam. Now, this is a dish you absolutely can serve with mashed potatoes. That's more traditional, or rice, or whatever you want. Now that we know what we're doing, let's gather our ingredients. You are going to need some eggs, just a little bit of fry oil. I got canola oil here. Whatever you want to use is fine. You're going to need 1 pound of beef and 1 pound of pork, some heavy cream, chicken broth or stock. You need an onion. You need some flour. You're gonna need some bread. I just got some white sandwich bread here that I cut the crust off of. No crust, just like a child. Surprising, you're gonna need a little bit of baking powder here. Baking powder, not soda. You're also gonna need some ground allspice, some ground nutmeg, butter, and salt. Now this is for the meatballs and the sauce. So for the pickles, it's pretty easy. You're gonna need some white wine vinegar, whole allspice berries. These are optional. I like them. Throw in some other stuff if you want. You can throw in dill, some mustard seed, whatever you want. You're gonna need some granulated sugar, and you're gonna need some little cucumbers. I prefer the little cucumbers. Don't hate on them. Less seeds, so less bitterness. They're a good size, so I got a few of these. This is all you need. So now that we know what we're doing and we've gathered our ingredients, let's get started. Let's head on over to the stove. I have about a cup of granulated sugar right here. And I have about 1.5 cups of white wine or champagne vinegar. Distilled white vinegar is fine too. So I'm just gonna heat that up on the stove, dissolve the sugar, and the allspice berries I'm gonna put in with the sliced up cucumber. I'm gonna put a handful of just allspice berries. Let's do 10 allspice berries. I'm getting it over medium heat. I just want to dissolve that sugar. So while we're waiting on that, let's cut some pickles. Cut some cucumbers. I keep saying pickles, I mean cucumbers. I'm just gonna trim off the ends here. So I'm just gonna cut these thin. If you want to use a mandolin, feel free. I'd say 1/8 inch, 1/16 inch, no thicker. Stirring it around, giving it a swirl. Still not completely dissolved. It smells vinegary and sweet. Exactly what I'm going for. My sugar's dissolved. Just gonna pour it in. Then I'm just gonna take a piece of aluminum foil here and press it down, hold them under. I'm just gonna let them sit until we're ready, and I'll drain them. You wanna let those sit for at least 30 minutes. Give them a check. You still want them crunchy, but you want them like a pickle. Probably between 20 and 60 minutes. I'm gonna check them at about 30 minutes. Let's get started on these meatballs. First things first, let's get our bread. I'm just gonna cut it into kind of like 1/2 inch pieces here. We are gonna soak this in some heavy cream. Do about 1/2 cup of heavy cream here. I'm just gonna kind of mash that together with a fork. Just let it sit and absorb and break down a little bit here. Don't put that cream away because we're gonna use it later. Let's let that sit. Now we are going to be using a stand mixer because it's easier. All right, let's take the easy way out here. So I got about a medium onion here to make things easy rather than cutting it up. I'm just going to grate it, large holes, box grater. I'm not crying, you're crying. So I'm just going to be putting all these ingredients into my stand mixer bowl. So with this onion, I'm going to add about 1/4 teaspoon of ground allspice here. Boop. All right, and now for nutmeg, I'm going to do 1/8 teaspoon. Let's put a little bit of salt in here. I'm doing 2 teaspoons kosher salt. Let's do 2 eggs. Let's put a teaspoon of baking soda in here. Let's just mix this around. All right, remember our bread and our heavy cream. I'm gonna put this in. I'm gonna beat it up. I want it really small. Just beat it. We got some goopy goop up in here. Now it's time for the pork. We're gonna do it kind of one at a time. Beef is last. I got about 1 pound of pork here. Regular, nothing fancy, just pork. Now we're gonna mix this on low until we've broken up the pork. Then we're gonna add our beef. Beef you add last. Beef, the more you mix it, the tougher it gets. It releases this stuff. It makes it all tough and sticky. We got a good homogenized mixture here. So now let's add our pound of beef. And this is just 80-20, 90-10 works, 85-15 works. That's about a pound. All right, so this one, again, you kind of want it on medium speed, 30 seconds max. This is actually a 2. I wouldn't say this is medium speed. We're looking pretty good here. Scrape down, give another little mix. I'd say we were good. All right, last stir by hand. Now let's start portioning them. You can use your hands, heaping tablespoons, roll them up, wet hands. I'm not gonna do that. I got a number, I think this is like 30 or 38 ice cream scoop. So that baking powder, remember we put the baking powder in? It's gonna help with browning. So we're gonna make these small, IKEA sized, and they're gonna get browning before they completely overcook. So I'm just gonna do kind of like 1 scoop here. You could roll it into a ball, but I don't even think you need to roll it into a ball. They never end up in ball shape. There's always gonna be that flat side. So you might as well just do this. Really press it in. Now this might take 2 fry batches, but we are gonna shallow fry. To cook these meatballs, let's head over to the stove. I'm going to be using about 1.5 cups. I have a very wide bottomed pan here. I'm going to use about 1.5 cups to 2 cups canola oil. Very shallow, but remember, when you put the meatballs in, it'll raise up. As it gets hotter, it expands. So we can adjust however much we need just to make sure we fry these evenly. I'm gonna get this over high heat. I want this about 350 degrees. Meanwhile, let's prep our sauce ingredients. So we're gonna use 1 pan. All right, I'm just gonna put a drop of water in. And when that goes pop, 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 well, no, just rolling these out now. Oil's hot enough, I'm gonna start putting them in. All right, I guess the middle of the pan isn't as deep as the edges. Let's add a little bit more oil here. Let's see how our browning's doing. Look at that gloriousness. So depending on how big your pan is, depends on how much oil you need to add. Smaller pan, less oil. Big pan like this, more oil. I'm even gonna add more. There's probably gonna be 3 cups. And while those are finishing up cooking, let's portion some more here. Good browning on all sides. I'm liking this. See how that baking powder really helped us here? I'm just gonna temp one just to see where we're at. I wanna make sure it's above 155, which is ground beef cooking temperature. And we're there. Let's get these out. Paper towel lined bowl, plate, what have you. I'm dropping my heat during this process so it doesn't overheat and start smoking. All right, let's do some more. I'm just gonna dump out all this oil, save it, do whatever you want with it. Because these bits are a little dark, I'm actually gonna wipe it out. Normally I'd say leave the brown bits, but not this case. Let's make the sauce. Back to the stove. Let's get the butter going. Let's say 3 tablespoons of butter. For the flour, I'm only gonna do about like a scant 3 tablespoons of flour here. Medium heat, let's cook the flour. Chicken stock, I'm gonna be using 4 cups here. High heat. 3 cups, starting with 3 cups. All right, I'm just gonna cook this for about 5 minutes total. All right, we're getting close. I'm gonna add about 1 cup heavy cream. We have lemon. We're gonna season it to taste with salt and lemon. Let me give this a taste. I might add the rest of my chicken stock. I'm gonna add the rest of this stock, reduce it down. Set a 4-minute timer. 4 minutes, I'll call this. While we're waiting, let's drain the pickles. Oh, these are good. And some browning on the edge. I think we're good. Heat that through, let it cool down. That sauce will thicken up as it cools. Don't forget, let's do a squeeze of lemon over here. It's probably 2 teaspoons. Season it to taste. Let me do that real quick. I'm just gonna add maybe half a teaspoon kosher salt here. All right, we're off heat. I'm gonna let these sit for about 5 minutes just so they heat completely through. Sauce cools down, gives me that clingy consistency that I'm looking for. Let's get some pickles. Let's get some lingonberry jam. Lingonberries, delicacy from Sweden. Now for a mountain of meatballs. All right, let's dig in. I'm just gonna eat with the gravy. Rich beefiness. That pork gives it so much flavor. A little bit of allspice. Nutmeg there. It's not overpowering. If I put any more in, it'd be all I taste. Let's get a little bit of this jam going. Sweetness from that jam, tartness from the pickles. It's like sweet, tart, rich. I definitely serve this with just a mound of mashed potatoes. So that was Swedish meatballs with a quick allspice pickle. If you like what you saw, don't forget to check me out on YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram. Thanks so much for tuning in, and I hope to see you next time. Take care.